Helen Saul Case is an educator, author and mother. Her daughter's vaccine experience was frightening.
There is a debate on whether or not vaccinations are harmful. However, in my opinion, there's no debate because I saw firsthand what a vaccination did to my daughter at a very young age. When she was 15 months old, she was given a DPT shot, and she had a serious reaction. Just a couple hours later, I remember it distinctly because she was in our sandbox outside playing, and she tried to stand up and she couldn't. Like, she couldn't stand up. Like, she was walking just fine at this time, and she tried to stand up on this day, and she fell over, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs and trying to walk to me but couldn't. And it's an image I'll never be able to get out of my head. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was the vaccination that caused this reaction. She had literally had it a couple hours prior. I took her inside. She had spiked a fever. I put her in a tepid bath, and she didn't stop screaming. So I did what I knew to do, which was to give high-dose, saturation level vitamin C to this child experiencing this severe vaccine reaction. And I loaded her up, and within about 45 minutes, once the C finally kicked in, she stopped screaming. Her temperature started to come down. I continued to give her C every hour or two throughout the entire night. By the next morning, she was a normal kid. Now, when I went to talk to not one but two medical doctors about what had happened to my child, admittedly these were orthomolecular physicians, they explained to me that had I not given my child high-dose vitamin C, saturation level vitamin C at that time, that she may have indeed experienced permanent brain damage. Now, that sends shivers through my spine. And someone's going to look at me and say, well, why are you vaccinating? Why are you doing this? Clearly it's dangerous. You've seen it happening. Why are you still giving your kids shots? It's because many of us do not have a choice. You want to go into the military? Guess what? You're going to get vaccinated. Foster child? Guess what? They're going to be vaccinated. In New York State, where I live, there is no philosophical exemption to vaccinations. You can't say, well, I don't believe in that. Or, you know what, here's all the research that says that vaccinations are dangerous. Doctor, I don't want to get shots for my kid. That doesn't work around here. You're either religiously exempt or you're medically exempt. And for my daughter, she now does indeed have a medical exemption for one component, just the pertussis component of the DPT shot, but nothing else. So this information, honestly, it isn't really for the parents that don't vaccinate. This information's not so much for you. If you're seeking natural immunity, I think you should be taking vitamin C as well, whether or not you're vaccinated. But for the parents that have children and they're being forced to vaccinate, this is when high-dose vitamin C is so incredibly important. According to Dr. Thomas E. Levy, taking vitamin C before, during, and after vaccination time not only decreases the likelihood that you're going to have any side effects, but it actually increases the vaccine's effectiveness. So this is good. And the side effects of vitamin C are safe. The side effects of vaccinations are not. So when it comes to vaccinations in our house, we do not take any chances. We take a huge amount of vitamin C and before, during, and after vaccinations. And I want to tell you what this looks like. So when my kids have a vaccination coming up, for about a week prior, I give them high-dose vitamin C, saturation level vitamin C, every single day. So saturation, once again, is that rumbling tummy or slightly loose stool. Once they reach that point, you throttle back. You wait a few hours, then you give a little bit more later in the day, and you continue on. Once again, just like you're feeding a baby, you're giving divided doses of C. Then the day of the shot, I literally bring vitamin C to the doctor's office. So after the child receives the vaccination, I give them vitamin C. Right now, my kids are old enough where I can take vitamin C powder and mix it into juice and just bring that along, and then they chug it right down after their vaccination. As soon as we get home, they take more. And for the next week or two, or however long is necessary, they continue to take high-dose, saturation level vitamin C. Now, I have watched this work with my children again and again now. No side effects, no swelling, no redness, no fever, no nothing. Just happy, healthy kids. So for those out there looking for an option, vitamin C may offer that extra level of protection that they're looking for.
I know you told this story before, and you told it to me before about that experience, But like, I want to make sure no parent or grandparent out there misses on the impact of that. I mean, you must have been panicking. How on earth did you feel going through that? I mean, what were you doing? Were you just sitting with her? What was happening?
I was completely panicked, and at the time my husband was out of town too, so it was all just on my shoulders. And I was watching this child that I don't know what to do. What do you do with this child who's just screaming and inconsolable? So I did what any mom does. I called the doctor, and the doctor didn't even report it. They said that I called and reported that she had a fever. And when they wrote it down in the doctor's report, which, yes, I obtained afterwards because I was curious, it said mom called with fever, and with had 2 H's. Like, they hadn't even spelled it correctly. There was no mention of a vaccine reaction, even though I was very specific about what was happening to my child. They basically told me, well, not basically, they told me, give her Tylenol. That was it. When my daughter was receiving high-dose vitamin C to prevent vaccine reactions, I can give you a basic idea of how much I was giving her before, during, and after. So, for example, before her first of 2 MMR shots, I was giving her approximately 8,000 to 9,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C to get her ready. Now, at this time, she would have been 5 because this was right before her kindergarten year. Then, once she received the shot, that very day, she held up to nearly 30,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. And after that, continued to hold quite a bit, like 28,000, 26, 25. And while I don't have the exact numbers memorized, the fact is you could tell that she was only getting 8 or 9, and then all of a sudden, she was holding like 30, which was incredible to us. That's a massive amount of C for a little 5-year-old to be able to hold. And then that amount would slowly ramp down, 18,000, 12,000, until we would eventually return to her normal maintenance doses of vitamin C. Now, New York State decided that they were going to add another MMR shot to the schedule right before she went to school. So unfortunately, we were in a position where we had to get yet another right before she attended kindergarten. So only a month later, we had to go through the whole process all over again. Once again, we started her at a high level. She was probably getting 8 to 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C to get to saturation right before, ramped up well over 30,000 milligrams, and then once again down into the 20s.